So, I don't know if I should do this video. I don't know if it's gonna hurt my career or not, but I promise to be open and honest, so you could see everything and you can understand what it's like to do research to understand the life of what you go through. And this week I received a rejection on a paper that's probably been working on for 10 years, and it was a great deal of work at the beginning. It got stalled for a little bit, and then I picked it up and pushed it forward, and I did absolutely everything that was asked. You know, we work in these sort of research sort of groups, I guess, I don't know, teams. That's really not. It's, in my experience, it's often, you know, you just end up doing a heck of a lot of work yourself. And I did everything that was asked. And then I had a moment where I was like, I can create, so for those of you who don't know what this is, I can create a construct with just one dimension, or I could have created two. And I chose to do the one because it's easier to explain. And then the paper got rejected because of that. And I can easily go back and change. And it wouldn't take that long, matter of a couple of weeks. And the paper got rejected because of that. Because I made that little small design choice. And this is what happens with all of it. And there's no recourse that you could do. You just simply have to smile and nod, accept that it happened, and then move on. Now the problem is with that paper, along with everything else that I end up doing, I get rejected all the time. Not all the time, because it takes months and months and months to work on a research project to get it to the point where you can send it someplace. But my rejection rate is unbelievably high. And I think I'm pretty normal, at least in the stuff that I do. So the truth is, you know, I think about this. I think that this career is not made out for me. Truth is, do I recommend to anybody to do this career? No. I tell my kids every day, don't do it. Truth is it for anybody? And I actually don't think so. All of this, when you go through this, and I was thinking about what is the difference with this career. It's not just that the outcomes are tied to this. Like everything that you do and you think about is fixated on that one little thing, and you get rewarded. I probably, likely won't get promoted. Maybe because of this and other things that are related, because research projects don't work out. I'm very well aware of that. What do you do? And that's why it's the same as when you go through a PhD. You do all this work and you don't get a job because you did all this work and it wasn't what everybody wanted. And that's the process of doing this. And that's why I wouldn't recommend it for absolutely anybody. And I think the difference between this career and every other career is because it's so tied to the quote-unquote performance, but it's not performance. It's outcomes that are driven by randomness. And so if I was to send this to 30 other 30 other journals, I'm sure it would get accepted. And then at that point, because we know from a random distribution, maybe it's even less than that. Maybe it's 15 journals that you can send it to, and it'll get accepted. So we know of that. That would be a sort of indicator of the performance of what I'm actually doing. Problem is it takes so long. You'll never send it to 15 journals. And I think about that the whole career is so tied to randomness. It's not tied to what you actually do. It's tied to personal connections. It's tied to all of these things that are outside of your control. And I think about, so there's this sort of field that sort of studies demotivation or motivation, and sort of feeling alienated. And the entire thing, the entire journey of what it means to do this is like play by play. Is have random outcomes that are not really tied to performance, have them really far in advance between when you do an action and when you get an outcome, where you can't sort of figure things out, have it tied to all of these other factors. All of that stuff is the definition of demotivating, the definition of alienating, definition of so many different things and so many different problems that we know about. I honestly, and then I think about, how can I change this? What can I do? Clearly, I contemplate quitting every day. Clearly, I think about all sorts of other things that I could do. Clearly, I think about how can we change this so that other people don't go through this. And I think the answer is relatively simple. That you have the research process in an open way where you can actually talk to people directly rather than having all of these weird formalities that we have, all of the sort of things that are institutionalized. But that's the problem. If you talk to somebody, then it's not institutionalized, and it becomes this process that doesn't have any legitimacy, and you won't get any credit for it. And it requires this whole collective effort for people to recognize that this is truly a dysfunctional process. And now when I say that, here's the thing. The vast majority of the people that are successful in the career, whatever that is, will say, well, you're just saying that because you're not successful. You're not doing well in the career. And then those people, they gatekeep all the outcomes. And what do? There's not much that you can do because it requires a collective action between many different people that nobody agrees with any of this. So I have this YouTube channel. As you're watching it, it's relatively big in size. Millions of people at this moment. Millions. Do I get any credit for it? No. Because it's not part of the institutional structure of what it means to do research, what it means to be a scholar. And all of this, I believe, is helpful. I believe it's scholarly. I believe telling this story, telling this sort of diary of my life, that other people can learn from it. All of the stuff that we would say is a scholarly contribution, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't count. So I'm going to tell you that I don't know what any of the answers are. And if you go through and you do the whole research thing, expect this. Expect the feelings of absolute demotivation, absolute not knowing what to do, all of these things. And I don't think there's any solution that is readily available that's simple, because it requires a lot of people to agree on something. We know that that doesn't ever happen. I don't know. That's all I wanted to say, is that it never gets easier. I've been doing this for so long now. I started the research career I started doing research in my undergrad in 2001. And it never changes. It never gets easier. Wish I could be more optimistic.